Imagine for a moment you're out in the wild and you'll remain there for a couple of seasons, surviving off of what nature has to offer. What food will you eat? What food might you find? There's at least 325,000 species of plants worldwide, humans consuming just 200 of them globally. In your local supermarket, you might find up to 50 of them, all of which have been engineered and hybridized by human beings. The vast majority of plants that exist in nature are highly toxic. They do not want to be eaten. As plants aren't mobile, they can't run or hide. They've adapted to defend themselves by other means. They have certain physical traits like thorns, thistles, and trichomes, which aid in deterring herbivory. But I want to focus explicitly on the chemical defense compounds that plants possess. Plant toxins and anti-nutrients like lectins, oxalates, glycoalkaloids, tannins, and phytoestrogens. And also how hazardous plant fibers can be in the diet, at least for humans. Lectins, found largely in legumes and grains, are plant proteins that bind to certain carbohydrates and interfere with the body's capacity to digest and absorb key nutrients such as iron, calcium, phosphorus, and zinc. Deficiencies in these minerals can cause brittle bones, hypertension, asthma, osteoporosis, certain autoimmune responses, and cardiovascular problems. Phytohemagglutinin, a bean lectin, can cause serious health issues when ingested in too high a dose. Eating just 4 raw or undercooked kidney beans can be sufficient in triggering levels of toxicity in adults. Ricin, the lectin found in castor beans, is one of the most poisonous metabolites and is released the moment the bean is chewed and broken.
It's an extremely effective poison.
A mere 5 to 10 micrograms per kilogram of body weight ingested,
and we're talking about an amount not much bigger than the head of a pin,
can be fatal for an adult.
It killed him?
Oh yes.
Plant lectins have also been known to cause permeability in the gut by damaging the integrity of the gut epithelial wall. So let's avoid these foods. All beans, peas and lentils, so your legumes. All grains, nuts and seeds. Also potatoes and specific fruits like tomatoes, carrots, berries and watermelon. Note that coffee is a bean derivative. Oxalates are another naturally occurring chemical in plants. They're used to ward off predation in the wild and exist within the leaves and stems. Some oxalate crystals cause inflammation when coming in contact with our skin. But maybe the most commonly known side effect caused directly from oxalates are kidney stones.
I'm afraid you've got kidney stones.
80% of all kidney stones are calcium oxalates, raw spinach salads being the biggest culprit. Think about the chalk-like fuzzy sensation you get in your mouth and on your teeth when you eat spinach. This is oxalic acid. When consumed along with other minerals, they bind together and form oxalates. That in turn inhibits the uptake of certain minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium and zinc. Also B6, sulfate and fat-soluble vitamins. Furthermore, to accompany oxalates with fiber only increases the depletion of these key nutrients. So you're going to want to avoid these foods. Leafy greens, especially spinach. Legumes, so soybeans, peas and lentils. Nuts, almonds being particularly rich. Grains like brown rice flour and white flour. Sesame seeds, and potatoes in general, including sweet potatoes. And even chocolate and tea. So think about when you're out, how often you've been offered a side of French fries with your meal. That's if the meal doesn't already come served with potatoes of some kind. It's excessive, isn't it? Well, so are the oxalates found in potatoes, especially sweet potatoes. The same could be said for the frequency in which we consume chocolate and tea. So if your diet includes lots of carbohydrates, certainly green vegetables and the other foods I listed, chances are you're overtaxing your body with oxalates. The kidneys being burdened the most with the task of eliminating oxalates through blood filtration and waste excretion. This is why a high oxalate diet is also associated with fibrosis and kidney failure. It can also cause heart problems if oxalates find themselves being deposited there too. Glycoalkaloids are toxic compounds found amongst the Solanaceae family of plants, also known as the deadly nightshades. Tomatoes, peppers of all kinds, white and red potatoes, eggplant, also known as aubergine, all red spices, even mild like paprika, and ashwagandha and tobacco plants are all high in glycoalkaloids. High levels in humans are toxic and commonly cause stomach upsets, nausea, diarrhea and vomiting. In severe cases though, even death.
I call this one fish out of water.
Beware in particular of greening potatoes. They're abundant in solanine, a glycoalkaloid poison, hence their Latin name, Solanaceae. To this day, around 70 people a year die from potato consumption. Tannic acid, or tannins, derive from phenolic acids and are practically ubiquitous substances among the plant world. Much like other plant chemicals, tannic acid can cause many side effects when regularly consumed in high concentrations. Tea and oregano are particularly high in their tannin content, but so are most herbs and spices. Other rich sources of tannic acid includes coffee, legumes, nuts, fruits like grapes, apples, certainly unripe bananas, olives and pomegranates. And I do apologise to the women out there for having to mention both wine and dark chocolate. As grape skins and seeds are high in tannins, along with even more existing in oak, you might be able to understand why wine is so high in tannic content. As for chocolate, it's the tannic acid that gives it such a bitter, unique characteristic. Many plants also contain phytoestrogens, which are phenolic compounds that mimic estrogen in our bodies. They're essentially endocrine disruptors because they negatively affect the tissues responsible for regulating hormonal balance. Foods rich in phytoestrogens include beans, once again, grains, seeds and nuts, fruits like peaches, blueberries and strawberries, also garlic and red wine, though definitely avoid all soy products along with flax seeds in particular, as both are riddled with phytoestrogens. So most of us know about the toxic potency of cyanide, but many of us unaware of the fact that it's contained in so many plant sources. In fact, cyanogenic molecules are present in over 2,650 species of plants across the globe, ranging from small amounts in leaves of wheat, rice, barley and maize, to vast quantities coming from cassava roots. Although humans have engineered such foods to produce less cyanide, we still need to ensure specific processes to deem certain plants edible. Which begs the question, why go through all of this so we can consume a plant that was never intended to be eaten, at least by humans? Take a look at almonds, for example. Consuming just a few wild, bitter almonds is potentially lethal, especially for children, containing around 6.2 milligrams of cyanide per nut. The sweeter engineered almonds you'll find in our stores and markets take around 385 nuts to trigger toxicity. Other common sources of cyanide are pits and seeds of fruits like cherries, apples, apricots, peaches, also plums and nectarines. So of all the plants in nature, not one of them contains less than 60 different carcinogens. I stumbled across this information through Anthony Chafee MD's YouTube channel and the Low Carb Down Under unit. They also taught me that there's over 100 carcinogens in mushrooms alone, and 136 in Brussels sprouts. Finally, I would like to address briefly plant fibre. I strongly believe that plant fibres contributed a lot of inappropriate stress and inflammation to my gut, which is one of the reasons why I lost my colon back in 2017. I have more information regarding that in another video if you're interested, so I'm just going to get into the problems with plant fibre. So you have cellulose, which is a plant fibre that's also found in tree bark. It's like wood pulp. Only a ruminant animal's gut can digest it. It's what makes up the cell walls of plants, and then you have lignin, which binds cellulose fibers, making them more robust by providing structural support. Lignin is 100% indigestible across the board, so you can probably see why it's potentially harmful on the gut and the general digestive tract throughout. I'd certainly avoid eating foods like grains, legumes, fruits like strawberries, bananas, avocado, olives, zucchini, also known as courgette, and I'd even add mushrooms, pineapple, mango, and onions to that list as well. If you suffer from bloating, you might want to avoid cruciferous vegetables, so cabbages, broccoli, and kale. Although not a plant fibre, these all contain raffinose, which remains undigested until the sugar is fermented in your gut by certain bacteria. So this biological reaction causes gas.
Did you pay the gas bill?
Which then makes you feel bloated and uncomfortable. Red meat doesn't cause obstructions. Plant fibres do. There's a clear indication from health institutes and food companies that we should adopt a more plant-based diet, or at least aim towards implementing 5 to 7 portions of vegetables and fruits per day. I believe, however, humans function more effectively on a meat-based diet because we've adapted to this way of eating genetically via evolution and natural selection. Now, of all the pesticides we consume as human beings in our lives, 99.99% of them come from plants. I hope this was interesting. Hopefully you can take something from this video. Please feel free to share with anyone that you know is interested in food, vegans included. I genuinely believe that vegans have been misled by sugar companies. I know that a lot of them aren't in it for health. It's more of an ethical stance that they're taking. I get it, they've got good intentions. I'm not against them as individuals. They've just been misled by sugar companies and these associations that want to sell more fruit and veg produce. It's all money, definitely is. You know, we need the environment and the planet more than the planet and the environment needs us. So really, when we're talking about protecting the environment and saving the planet, we're talking about looking after human beings. If you care about human beings, you care about their optimal health, and they're only ever going to be healthy and thrive on a meat-based diet. You can't thrive on a plant-based diet. There's just deficiencies across the board, right? B12 is just completely absent as it's exclusive to animal products. You've got non-heme iron, you've got these phytoestrogens, you've got the anti-nutritive compounds found in plants that inhibit absorption of key nutrients. You eat a steak, which is like a whole food. It has absolutely everything the body needs. And then you accompany it with something like spinach. Spinach is going to deplete certain mineral absorption. So if you're eating nothing but plants, I mean, first of all, you're spiking blood glucose and elevating insulin levels. You're probably doing this most likely 5 times a day as well. This just interferes with everything biologically. Our ancestors were predominantly in ketosis. This is not a new thing. The ketogenic diet is not new. It's one of the oldest diets in the book. We've been on it for millions of years, up until not too long ago, really. Saturated fat got villainized and sugar consumption went up, high fructose corn syrup, and then all these pervasive seed oils that we were replacing saturated fats with. And just look at what's happened. Look at the health travesties out there. It's just ubiquitous. Even in undeveloped countries, you've got these pervasive diseases. And the whole reason for this is because carbohydrate consumption's gone up, condoning this plant-based diet and lifestyle. This is where diabetes is coming from. This is where non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is coming from. Hypertension in kids, and some of them taking medication. Look at how much mental health there is out there. All of these cases of depression. So, not good. It's because you're not fueling your brain with the right substrate. So there's no wonder. Definitely share with anyone you know who's suffering with IBD, so Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, which is what I had. This diet, the carnivore diet, and ridding your body of plant foods is so key if you want to get in remission, if you want to stay healthy, if you don't want to be irritating these vulnerable spots that you have in your digestive tract, whether it's in your small intestine or your colon. Acid reflux. all of these kinds of things, I believe it's fiber and sugar and seed oils. And when on a plant-based diet, you're having that in abundance. But when you're on a carnivore diet or a strict ketogenic diet, which is very, consistent with our ancestral diet, you're basically resetting your body in a way that it should be. So anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.